I'm going to make this one really quick. This will be the last one, part 3. My final take, not the final thing I'm going to say about the Drake versus Kendrick beef, but my final official, summation of thoughts after the numbers, after the streams, the records, after some time has gone by. And I'm not even going to, at least right now in this video, I'm not going to factor in the whole fandom element, like the things that the extreme fans are saying, particularly the Drake fans, because it's just too irritating. But I didn't come into this as a Kendrick fan, but I'm leaving this beef as a Kendrick fan, and you can call me bandwagon, I don't care. But like I said, I recognized his artistry, I respected his skill set, I acknowledged that out the gate. I just wasn't diving deep into his catalog. But now I have, and I'm a fan. And I don't think there's a problem with that. I have listened to enough Drake to know that I was a fan of his for years. And I just no longer am, because I don't really jive with the new style that he had been doing. Again, because I wasn't even immersed into newer hip-hop anyhow. So there was really no room for my fandom of Drake to grow. And there was nothing to feed it. And so even as I've dived into some of that newer work that I did not previously listen to, it did not make me like Drake any more than I already did. And unfortunately, it made me like him less. I say that to say, even if this beef had never happened, if for whatever reason, without this beef, without these diss tracks, if for whatever reason I had to sit and explore the catalogs of both Drake and Kendrick, I would of course still enjoy everything I already enjoyed from Drake, especially back then, but I would not have enjoyed the newer stuff. I just wouldn't have, because of the things I said in my previous videos, because of who I am as a person, because of how I listen to hip-hop. It's me, it's my opinion, it's my brain, these are my ears, so I get to determine how that is going to go. I get to explain to you how I'm doing it. But I know a lot of y'all can relate, and honestly, if you don't relate, I'm really interested in how you see this. But this is just me telling the truth. I like Drake less after hearing his newer music. I like him even less after hearing how much of some of that music was actually not his own original work. I like Kendrick now more after hearing his work. I hadn't heard anything on Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers until this beef. But had I listened to that album, actually listened to it, I would have been off into the rabbit hole of all of his artistry. I would have went back. I would have listened to Pimp a Butterfly and Good Kid, Mad City, and Section 80. I would have done that because his stuff is compelling. Again, my background is English. I studied English in college, but even how I got there was not conventional. I was the first person in my family on my mother's side to get a college degree. To me, that's not a big deal. To some people, it is. It's just a fact. And the same day I graduated, actually, so technically, I'm the second person, because the same day I graduated with my degree, my little sister was completing her 5-year master's program at a school, another university in Detroit. So, but my ceremony was first. But technically, she fulfilled her bachelor's credits a year before that. So technically, it was her. She just didn't get an actual bachelor degree or do the ceremony because it's a 5-year master's program. All that to say, we were poor. I grew up in the hood. I was born and raised in a neighborhood that was not for the faint of heart. My mother and father raised us in a way to where we were outside, but we were not in the streets. We were taught differently. And as a matter of fact, I was raised by parents who took it upon themselves to be a support to the families in the neighborhood. They were the only married couple in the neighborhood. We were the only set of siblings that all shared the same mother and father. And that's not a flex. And as a kid, I didn't even understand why that even mattered. But as an adult, I understand now why it mattered. We never treated it like it did as kids. Other kids would mention it. But our upcoming was unique. And then on top of that, my mom decided to homeschool us in the 90s. So we didn't even go to Detroit public schools. That would have been our path. Marshall Elementary, Nolan Middle School, Persian High School, baby, no. Even though all of us are smart enough to where maybe we could have went to Renaissance or Cass, but with the neighborhood being what it was, my older sister would have gotten pregnant. My brother would have been more into, he didn't get into street violence and street life. He went on to be a real estate agent. But had he went to Persian, I mean, it would have been hard for him not to get into more stuff. So they raised us in a way to where they really wanted to make sure we had our best chance at genuinely becoming all we could be. And I wanted to write. I've been writing since before I can remember. I've been reading since before I can remember. I learned to read before 5 years old. I cannot tell you when I learned to read, because that's how intelligent my parents are, and that's how much they valued our intelligence. So when I went to college, and my mom used to tell me, you don't have to go if you don't want to. She wasn't that person that says your future is based on you getting a degree. She would always say your gift will make room for you. So I come from a background where we valued education, but we didn't necessarily put on a high pedestal the isms or the institutional verifications or validations of that education. So when I decided I was going to go to college, I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a sports journalist, like I said. She didn't say, oh, you have to go, or this is such a big deal. She was like, you can do whatever it is that you want to do. You have the skill set. You have the capacity to explore whatever world you want to explore. If you want to go to college and pursue journalism in a more official capacity, go for it. And that was my mother. So when I went, I wasn't there from a family pressure. But also when I went, I didn't go there with any doubts on my ability to succeed. I didn't go in there with any fears of tests, any fears of how any of that crap worked, because I was homeschooled. Because we were taught to be critical thinkers and individual thinkers. We were taught to be in charge of our own learning experience. So when I go to college to get my degree in English, I had already had years of experience writing, reading, exploring different styles, reading poetry, studying Spanish, studying Arabic. Not because our family was bougie or rich or anything, but because education really is free, especially if you take your butt to a library and read a fucking book, which we did as kids all the time. So when I say I respected Kendrick's artistry, is because I was a kid writing raps with kids on the street, and none of us wanted to be rappers. I could think of a few of the young boys who were trying to be rappers and did follow that path, but it's just something we did. I remember being a kid in the 90s, sitting next to the radio with a pen and paper trying to write down the lyrics to a song that we really want to remember, especially the raps. And don't let it be Bone Thugs-n-Harmony. I remember how disappointed I was trying to learn the lyrics to Breakdown by Mariah Carey and Bone Thugs-n-Harmony, and my cousin brought the CD, and I'm like, oh shoot, the jacket will have the lyrics. I remember opening up that jacket before I even listened to the CD and seeing it was a shorter version. I'm like, how the heck am I gonna learn everything else that they said in this song? And this is not even the full version. So even to access lyrics, even to learn lyrics, even the way we wrote lyrics, even the way we talked to each other as kids, like we explored language in such an extensive way that when I say I respect and appreciated Kendrick's artistry and am now a fan, I mean that from a place of being outside when we heard that Tupac was killed. I mean that from a place of understanding language and not having to sit up under a teacher who judged me for my language. I understand that I respect his artistry based on my own exploration of language in college, not to impress nobody, but to just be there learning for myself, for my brain. And I say that to say, anybody trying to judge this beef based off of just money and coolness, get the fuck out of here. Like, you don't. That's the whole basis of They Not Like Us. It's not just about deviance or PDF files. If you didn't come up in this thing, if you didn't explore the artistry of it, if you don't understand what it was like for Kendrick to be on the block and watch Tupac and them filming videos, the same block that once Tupac and them left, without them being scared or having to have a bunch of bodyguards, once they left, he still had to face the struggles of his life. He didn't get to go to his mama and say, Mommy, I want to be a rapper. Oh my gosh. Who do we know? Who can you... I want to be... He didn't have that. He didn't even have to. He was inspired to follow a craft, to dive deep into the complexities of language and rap and expression, expressing pain, expressing doubt, expressing joy, hope, expressing your complexities, expressing the love you have of your childhood, even despite the agony and the tragedy of, you know how hard that is to look back on your childhood and know that there was some flat out horrendous things that happened, but then still had this feeling that you wouldn't change it for nothing. But then at the same time feel like, but dang, I really should change it, because that wasn't right when Lil Mooney died. That wasn't right when this kid got killed, or that kid got hit by a car, or when that house burned down. If we had the power to fix it, of course we would. But the complexity is that it has made us who we are. So you put that in your writing, you put that in your art. Everybody can do that. You don't have to be from the hood to do that. It's just that your complexity would be based on your actual life. And that is why, even without this beef, had I dug deep into the more recent work of Drake, I would have no longer been a fan because he was flat out lying. Period. He was putting on a costume and pretending that his struggle was my struggle. They struggle. His struggle is not. He's just pretending. So I wouldn't have liked that. So that's how I see the end of this. I have come out of this as a Kendrick fan for legitimate reasons. And I've come out of this really, even without the criminal allegations against Drake, no longer interested in any of his newer stuff. If I hear older Drake songs, I will still feel that same feeling of having fun in college and stuff. But I know how to get past my feelings. And I could categorize that away as a bygone era. It was what it was. I didn't know any better. I had fun. But it's no way I could call myself a fan of anything Drake has done recently. And that's without the beef. Now, you factor in the beef, you got to be a fool to think Drake won. Any fan, it's not about preference. If you like his music, that's one thing. But to think that a game, not even a game, to think that a battle that does have, even though it doesn't have rules, it has a history and a tradition. To think that a battle deeply rooted in a tradition that goes back to the 80s, early 80s, to think that those traditions are somehow irrelevant and you can determine a winner just because you like their music, y'all crazy. Y'all crazy. That's period. Anyway, this is the last one for the Drake versus Kendrick actual my perspective video. I'll probably mention this stuff again. I'm sure I will. But it's the authenticity. It's the pain, it's the struggle, and the joy. All Drake had to do was rap about his real life. Not every great rapper has had hood experiences. The best rappers are the ones who use their actual experiences to fuel their art. Even if their art contains some fiction, it is still rooted in their experience. That would be like me. That would be like somebody being raised in Antarctica and wanting to write urban fiction. Like, what the fuck is we talking about here? What? Who? Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Bye.